Hello YouTube, this is Hunter Surge of the Brawler Cafe once again, and today we are diving into Darkus. Now, as I've mentioned on previous episodes, this is going to be one of the times that we're actually going to be touching one of the Wave 2 Bakugan because it is good enough without having any evolutions to be worth considering. Beyond that, we are working, of course, with our standard, we want 502 as a baseline. And for Evos, we want to be hitting around 1,000, ideally, for our Evos, so that they can actually persist later into the game. As the game progresses and more powerful Evos can come into play. So, yes, because that is the level at which Evos typically peak. Not a whole lot goes above that point, so having an Evo at 1,000 is good. Now, with that said, let's get right into this. Starting up, we have Drago once again. Drago is Wave 2 single, as well as included in one of the Wave 1 starter packs. It starts with a 404 baseline, comes with Flaming Fist and Shield. That baseline stats aren't too terrible, pretty decent actually, but its Evo leaves a lot to be desired. Hyper Dragonoid at 4 cost, 1,006. It's just a big beat stick. 4 cost for plus 600 isn't too bad, but like we can be doing a lot better than this. And honestly, I'm a bit sad about this because this being the hyper evolution means that potential for future evolutions to really improve Drago are basically like they basically don't exist because hyper is the lowest level evolution, so we can't really get new Evos that are going to be lower costed than this. So that kind of sucks. With a very similar stat line, we have FANGZOR at 403. So only loses one damage, which is fine, whatever. And it comes with double fist, which makes it good for any fist archetype deck. And it also comes with natural Shadow Strike, which is very, very good. Shadow Strike, of course, if you're not aware, is an ability that prevents the Bakugan's stats from being reduced. So this makes it immune to trap cores, any damage reduction from Ventus or opposing Darkus. It basically makes Ventus as a whole useless against you because basically all of Ventus's cards are that like impact the state of the battle do that by reducing the opponent's damage or power. So by having Shadow Strike, you basically make Ventus useless against you and protects you against trap cores, yours or your opponent's. So that is pretty nice. And its Evo comes out at 4 cost. It's a bit late, but we go up to 905, which is a pretty decent increase. 4 cost for plus 500 isn't the greatest, but considering the natural Shadow Strike, this is something that's worth having around, especially if you put it in the right deck, where that lower power won't really matter for reasons that that will be gotten into in a future deck profile probably, because this will probably, like, I'm mainly talking about Mono Darkus right now. Mono Darkus plays a very specific way, and FANGZOR is very good for that, the way that plays. And Lycon will probably be doing a deck profile on that sometime in the near future, because it is a deck he is very close to having all of the cards for. So yeah, more on that in the future. But regardless, FANGZOR, good card, good Bakugan. Now this one is just embarrassing. So Darkus Howl Core Ultra is of course one of the main character's partners. It's Lightning's partner. 302 is not the kind of stat line you really want to be seeing. That's a 5 total. That's like 3 below, no, 2 or 3 below, yeah, 2 below the standard that you want to be seeing, well below the power threshold that you want to be seeing. It's really, really bad. It doesn't really bring anything special either. It's not good for any specific type of core archetype. It only brings 1 shield and 1 helix, so nothing great there. It doesn't bring any of the higher tier cores, so it doesn't aid any of those things. So it's really bad for core archetype decks. And its Evo is just, oh god, this is embarrassing. Oh god, this is embarrassing. Okay, so what is the problem with Titan Holocore Ultra? Well, it's reliant on flips. It's a 5 cost 1001 that's reliant on flips to gain more damage. In addition to this, this is really baffling. But Ventus Mantonoid Ultra has a very similar evo. So Ventus Mantonoid Ultra has 601 stat line, like an actually respectable stat line. And its evo is 4 cost 1001, and it also gets +1 damage for each of the thing. But in this case, it's for each energy card. So by default, it's always going to be 1005. It's a way more reliable Bakugan than Holocore Ultra, and especially considering its baseline, like, do not touch this Bakugan. Like, if you really like Holocore, then sure, I guess, but this is really bad. Like, I am going to need to make a video in the future, probably in between, probably when I'm done on the Bakugan analysis, but before I go into the card analysis, I'll probably make a video breaking down why flips suck so much, but you really do not want to be running a bunch of flips. Now, Darkus does have the best flip in the game. Darkus does have the one flip that you really want to play, Pact of Darkness, because it can always be free. But that's only 3 cards. Like, at best, if you have all of them in your discard pile, that's 1004. And that is still less than a Titan Mantonoid Ultra and Ventus has on the first turn it can come out. Like, and that has a way better baseline stats. It's like, it's really bad. Really not something I can recommend. Do not touch this. No, this is not worth it. Don't bother with this thing. It's a dumpster fire. Now, fortunately, we get to move straight from that into something that we can talk way more positively about. This is HYDOROUS Ultra. You see that B power? That's 800. That is 801. So that's a 9 total stat. Very good right off the bat. Like, that's almost at Aurelius level. As you can see by the fact that one of the Aureliuses that we do not have released yet, TROX, has this exact same base stat line. TROX Ultra, actually, I believe. But regardless, this is the highest B power in the game. Not even any of the currently released Aurelius Bakugan have this high of a base B power. This is extremely valuable, and beyond even that, HYDOROUS Ultra doesn't even stop there. It has an additional ability on its character card. So it comes with Flaming Fist and Fist, so that makes it great for any sort of Flaming Fist deck. Like, Flaming Fist seems really stacked with really strong independently Bakugan, which is really nice. Like, stuff like this, Drago, FANGZOR, lots of really good Flaming Fist stuff. So when it's on a Flaming Fist, it goes up to 804, plus whatever damage bonus you get from the Flaming Fist. So you're probably going to be at like 807, 808, probably over 1000 with the B power bonus from the Flaming Fist if you're using the best ones. So yeah, this is like one of the best base character cards in the game. It's really strong. And its evolution is not so impressive. For 3 costs, we go up only 200 more B power. Most of the improvements here are to its damage. However, as a baseline, it's only 3 costs for plus 200, plus 2 damage. Its Flaming Fist ability improves a lot, going to plus 5 damage and giving natural Shadow Strike. But this still only increases your damage total by 4, even when on a Flaming Fist. The Shadow Strike is nice, but this isn't something super great. And honestly, HYDOROUS Ultra is one of the few Bakugan that is strong enough in its base form to not really need to worry super hard about having an Evo. Like, it's already super close to that 1000 threshold. So, like, at that point, especially if you're playing a super aggressive deck, like for slower mid-range or control decks, you are going to want this so that you can just bump up your stat line at some point in the game, because you're going to have control of the game and you're going to be able to do that at some point. But this is not the sort of Evo that you need to really worry about too much. It is nice to have around to slightly buff HYDOROUS Ultra's stats, and it's nice that it's not too high cost. But yeah, it's not what makes HYDOROUS Ultra good. Like, this is one of those few cases where just the base stats of the character card are enough to make a Bakugan really good and one of the best in the game. Now, moving on to its core form. This one is not so great. So we're dealing with a 304 stat line. We at least get double fist, so it's decent for the fist archetype. 300 is not a B power we want to be seeing. This is not a great stat spread, and its Evo doesn't really improve this. Its Evo is 3 costs, only increases base B power by 100. Now, when it's on a fist, it will get an additional plus 600, so it manages to go up to 1000 B. But that is that's like the damage rating. The damage rating is nice, and when you're on a fist, it's going to be even higher. So this is typically going to be like 11, 12 damage, something like that. But the low base B power, leaving you extremely vulnerable to getting screwed by Hot Potato or Inferno Wings, is not great. And that's not even talking about if you miss your fist cores. Like for fist archetypes, there's just better stuff that you can be carrying. And it doesn't even like, despite being so weak in its base form, it doesn't even have a fist ability in its base form. So to even be able to do anything with this, you're going to need to wait until turn 3 to evolve. And fist archetypes tend to be more aggressive, so that's not the sort of thing you want to be seeing. So it's not great. Not something I can really recommend. Alright, NTONOID Ultra. So character card. This is the only one that comes with Magic Shield in the entire faction right now. So that's something to keep your eye on. It's 304, not a great stat spread as we just talked about with HYDOROUS. Now the B power can be fixed, helped with the shields, but it's not a great starting point. Its evolution doesn't come out until turn 5 and only increases your B power by 100. Now it puts you up to 410 and it gives you a powerful ability that you can't really utilize too well. So let's compare this card, this Evo, with our friend from Aquos, HYDOROUS. So HYDOROUS is kind of similar when you do a common action. So it's similarly a low B power, high damage Evo that can increase its own power when you do a common action. The problem here is that that Titan NTONOID Ultra costs 2 more, has a harder. Now its B power gain is better, which lines up with the fact that that the action that you have to do for the increase is harder. But its cost is too high, and its base B power is lower than HYDOROUS. Yeah, it's not. This isn't great. So 5 cost. So it's going to be completely useless the turn that you drop it. 5 cost is really late in the game. And then you need to have a healthy enough hand and enough like sacrifice stuff to be able to discard a bunch to give it a big bonus. Now, this is really powerful with stuff like Sifting Ashes. Like Sifting Ashes with this is 1 cost, filter your hand, get plus 800s. Combos like that are really powerful. And I wouldn't be surprised if this Bakugan became good in the future. But these problems with it will prevent it from being any good right now. There aren't enough good discard stuff, especially at low costs. Maybe if it also worked when you discard cards from your opponent's hand, then I could see it being actually really good in Mono Darkus hand control. But as it is right now, it's not great, not something I can really recommend. Yeah, tragically not a very good Bakugan. Alright, now it's the big boy, Darkus Nilius, partner of Magnus. We have a pretty good baseline here at 502. It has a similar issue to Howlcore in that it doesn't really excel in any core archetype. It comes with a fist and a helix, nothing second tier, all first tier, but they're 2 different ones, so it's not great in that department. Now diving into its Evos. Now, of course, I believe that I mentioned this before, but Nilius Core is one of the Bakugan with 3 Evos, tied with HYDOROUS and Dragonoid for the most Evos in the game. So first we have Diamond Nilius. Now, since I last talked about diamonds in the Aquos video, we have gotten some additional information, some full information on how the Diamond Evos exactly work in interaction with the other Evos. So basically, when you go into a Diamond Evo, you can't go into any other Evo, and if you've gone into any other Evo, you can't go into Diamonds. They're a completely separate branch, which basically kills literally any potential any of the Diamonds had. Because most of the Diamonds are extremely high cost, and the only thing that would have helped that at all is if you could go into the lower cost Evos that those Bakugan have, and then later go into the Diamond Evo. But you can't do that. That's not allowed. And the low cost ones, there's a couple low cost ones, particular TROXes. TROX Cores has a pretty low cost one, and that one, its B power is just too low to really work throughout the game. But there's maybe some potential to use it and then later go into Titan TROX, which just does have that 1000 B power threshold. But you can't do that either. So basically it killed, like, Diamonds are completely dead cards. Like, don't, like, unless you're on, like, still in the process of gathering cards, like, if you pull Diamonds for the Bakugan that you're using, use them temporarily, I guess. But, Diamonds are really, really bad. And, yeah, like, 7 cost, 1500 day, that's way too late to be waiting. Like, games are typically over by then. It's, like, and, even if you last a turn 7, 7 costs plus 1000, I mean, that's okay, but you can be doing better things with that energy, especially if you can wait one more turn to drop Magnus, because that's a card that exists. But yeah, this is really bad. Level 2, we have HYDOROUS. So this is 803, so 3 costs, plus 300, not fantastic gains there. Not really going to transition well into later into the game. It has the Victory ability that you can discard any number of cards to get plus 2 damage for each card you discarded, to boost up your damage. This is something that I briefly considered in Fury builds, to help you empty out your hand, so that Hyper Serpentine Ultra can just wreck house. But I really don't think this is worth, and this applies double to Titan Nilius, who is 1304 at 6 cost. Okay, so the thing with Victor abilities on Evos is that they are not really live until the turn after you can first play them. Because typically, if you play them on the first turn that you can, you're probably going to lose that battle, because you are not gaining enough B power off that battle in comparison to what your opponent can gain off spending the amount with the same amount of energy on actions. So these are really turn 4 and turn 7. And as I said with Diamond Nilius, if you're going to wait into turn 7, well, you might as well just wait for Magnus. Yeah, this, unfortunately, Nilius Core is not great. There's nothing really to utilize here. Its base stats are pretty decent, but it doesn't really have any good Evos. And it's in very, very stiff competition with stuff like HYDOROUS Ultra, FANGZOR, and as we'll be getting into it in a bit, TROX. So, yeah, it's not something I can recommend. Now, fortunately, something I can recommend is the Wave 2 Ultra Darkus Nilius Ultra. If you happen to have one of the Wave 2 stores, I would recommend highly picking this up, because this Bakugan looks like it has a lot of high potential. So, Darkus Nilius Ultra is 206, not a great starting B power. It comes with double shield, and when it's on a shield, plus 400 B. So, in a shield archetype deck, where you're going to be basically always landing on shields, this is going to be a 606. That is really good. That is above Aurelius. That is above what you typically get out of an Aurelius. A bit below what you get out of a core boosted Aurelius. Core boosted meaning by their natural abilities. So yeah, this is really good stat line. Now it doesn't have any Evos right now, of course, because it is a Wave 2 Bakugan, and only the Wave 1 Bakugan, excluding any Diamonds, have any Evos. So, why would you run this? Well, the simple fact is that Chaos Serpentine Ultra really, really sucks. It only has 700B after evolving, and that is not fantastic. Now, it does have pretty good damage, but The other Bakugan that you're going to be carrying in a Shield Archetype deck are Aquos Pegatrix and Aurelius FANGZOR, and those more than cover you in the damage department. So honestly, I would personally rather take Nilius Ultra. It doesn't transition fantastically later into the game, but the fact is, neither does Chaos Serpentine Ultra, and that is your best other choice for your third Bakugan in the Shield Archetype. Even when it's evolved, its B power is only going to be 100 higher than an unevolved Nilius Ultra on a shield. So either way, you're going to have to deal with this low B power, and I'd rather deal with it on the Bakugan that gets it without evolving. So yeah. Nilius Ultra, good Bakugan, and will obviously only get better when we actually get Evos for it. So I'm very excited for this Bakugan. Highly recommend picking it up. Now, for our very last Darkest Bakugan, not Pegatrix, that's not out yet, not Serpentine, that's wave 2. Darkest TROX. So, Darkest TROX joins HYDOROUS Ultra and Aurelius Garganoid Ultra and Aurelius FANGZOR in the 700 or higher B power club. As I said last time, the only factions with 700 B power Bakugan are Darkus and Aurelius. So Darkus does not have a great action pool when it comes to gaining B power, but what they make up for that is really good base stats, as you can see with this TROX and with HYDOROUS Ultra. So 701, really good. That is 8 total, above the typical standard for non-Aurelius Bakugan, and really high B power. Stronger than any non-HYDOROUS, non-Aurelius base form. So that's great. What cores does it come with? It comes with a shield and a helix, not great. Darkus Wave 1 stuff really doesn't like playing along with the core archetype builds, but whatever, that's fine, we can work with that. The shield and helix are also actually very nice to have, because helix is very nice for like trap cores. For having trap cores in a mono Darkus deck, you kind of want those. And shield is great for boosting up our power even more. What does this devil do? TROX, Hyper TROX at 3 cost, upgrades by 200 B power and 1 damage. It's not a whole lot, but it's only 3 costs. And it gets its B power high enough for it to do well later in the game. Now, the big thing is, on play, you will choose a player to discard a card, so you force your opponent to drop one. That's very powerful. Hand control is very strong, and when it's on an already potent Bakugan, like what makes hand control really work for Darkus is that they have these high B power Bakugan. So if you put your opponent in a situation where they can't play anything from hand, they're going to have a really hard time beating over you. Yeah, that is what makes stuff like TROX and Hyper TROX really good. So 900 B power, good enough, and like 3 costs plus this 900 B power, and forcing your opponent to discard a card, good stuff. And this has potential in the future in sacrifice type builds when those become viable, because hey, you can also choose yourself to discard a card if you really need to activate something. So yeah, Darkest TROX, really good, high recommend. For Darkest Bakugan, it doesn't so much come down to the core type you're building around, it just comes down to like the speed of your deck. Darkest FANGZOR, I have to say this thing, it fits more for mono Darkest than anything else. I don't really think it fits into mixed variants very well at the current time, because there's only so much one Bakugan with Shadow Strike can do, especially when it only evolves at turn 4 and has pretty lackluster B power before that. HYDOROUS Ultra, very good for aggressive decks. It can falter a bit as the game really gets into the late stages, because its Evo is not fantastic, and it will fall a bit behind where Evos will typically be. Nilius Ultra is the one core archetype friendly dude, really good for shield decks, and will only get better once we get his Evos. And TROX, this is good for mid-range control decks. Similar role to HYDOROUS Ultra, giving you a very high B power that's very good to work with, while also allowing you to establish some hand control on your opponent while also evolving. It's really good. Darkus has some really good Bakugan. Yeah. Their cards leave a bit to be desired for, but their Bakugan, really good. Boasts some of the highest speed powers in the game. Yeah. Alright, that's going to be it from this. See you guys next time. We will be covering Chaos next. So look forward to that.